WWE's 2005 Royal Rumble ran 2 hours 52 minutes. Of course, we begin with the countdown stuff. A voice says for 17 years, it has been unchanged, and tonight the legacy continues. Pyro goes off, we hear Michael Cole say we are officially on the road to WrestleMania. Taz declares it is electric. King and JR are up by the stage, and the first man to come out of said stage is, well, not Cope, not Adam Copeland, not yet the Rated R superstar, but it is Edge. He is wearing purple. This young Edge looks like his good guy self, but the commentary set me straight and say how that this is the beginning of what will become the Rated R superstar, as he is taking on the Heartbreak Kid, who Edge blames for, well, himself not currently being the world champion, all because Shawn Michaels beat Edge in a fan poll at Taboo Tuesday. It's a weak storyline, but not all good bad guys are in the right. Certainly not this soon-to-be Cope of a bad guy. Michael starts the match fast, and Edge gets clotheslined out of the ring. Copeland is so mad. When he gets back in the ring, Shawn is in control, chopping at him. It feels like Edge hasn't yet figured out how to be a bad guy or work as a villain, which is such a weird thing to say as a longtime fan. We all know that the Rated R superstar will be an all-time great villain, but it takes that change that comes with the feud from the Matt Hardy and Lita real-life events to get him to that place. Edge is selling so much, and for me, it's out of place. Even when Edge tries to work dirty and put a thumb in Shawn's eye, Michaels doesn't seem to relent, and they end up on the outside. HBK gets driven into the ground. Edge then goes back into the ring so that he can run at the rising Michaels and kick him in the face. The crowd is struggling, and I legitimately think it is due to Copeland not knowing how to get the crowd against him. Well, not yet. The audience does react when Michaels gets offense, which is why I think that the issue is with Edge and his lack of understanding how to work as a bad guy, especially since most bad guys tend to lead matches, and this version of a bad guy, Edge, only thing he knows how to do to get people upset with him is to put on a chin lock that lasts my entire lifetime. It probably was more like maybe 10 minutes or less, but it felt like it was a lot longer. When Shawn works free, Edge pulls his hair to take him down to the ground. Then the future Rated R superstar does Shawn Michaels' famous pose. Finally, Edge seems to be getting some rhythm. That is until Michaels rolls him up for a 2 count. Edge once again pulls Shawn's hair, making me think of that WWE Divas era, which is not a good thing at all. Oh no, another chinlock. Please do not last the rest of the night. Shawn gets out much faster this time, thankfully. Although more repeat spots. This time it's chops and not the chinlock. Edge tries to leave, but Michael says nah, and goes up the ramp and forces Edge back towards the ring, and Edge hits a massive spear on the outside. The referee begins to count, and my first thought is, no way this is the finish. Shawn gets back in at the count of 9. Edge goes for another spear. Now on the inside of the ring, after doing the Sweet Chin Music taunt to Shawn, but Michaels kicks out of the second spear. Now Shawn does his own finisher setup taunt and then hits Sweet Chin Music. Well, goes to hit it, but Edge catches the Heartbreak Kid's leg and gets him in an electric chair setup up on his shoulders, and then he drops him. Edge locks in the executor, I don't know, one of his, whatever he called that leg lock. I think it was the educator, maybe, the leg lock. But anyway, it's an inverted figure 4 type move. I'm sure Shawn will not tap out, and he is sure to get to the ropes. Yep, Shawn got to the bottom rope. Edge then got Michaels back into the center of the ring and tries again, but Shawn rolls Edge into a pin, only for Edge to reverse and for him to get a hold of the ropes, and Shawn loses to Edge in a very dirty fashion. It got better before the ending, but it was only a fine 3 out of 5 stars match to start this show. The show cuts to the backstage area where Raw GM Eric Bischoff and SmackDown General Manager Teddy Long are at the Tumbler with the Rumble numbers in it, talking about, well, the festivities this evening. Teddy says, just like the last 2 years, it will be a SmackDown wrestler winning the Royal Rumble match. Whenever things like that are said, I assume the opposite is true. Spoiler, my instincts are correct. Raw's Ric Flair and SmackDown's Eddie Guerrero draw their numbers respectively, and they have the opposite reaction. They wish each other the best, and Latino Heat walks away while Flair celebrates. He realizes Eddie stole his number, and it is really funny stuff the way that this all went down, because Eddie hugged Rick when he wished him the best, and then when Flair's celebrating, showing off the number that he got, everybody in the room, Tori Wilson, Christy Hemme, Teddy, and Eric are like, are you sure you even like the number you got? When he looks at it, and that's when he realizes Eddie Guerrero stole his number. Honestly, that was enough backstage stuff for me, but Vince had to do a Snitsky and Heidenreich thing that was basically just two creeps being creepy and talking nonsense. Gene has an idea for John. Then we cut to the casket match hype package. Weird segment choice, I tell you. I do like that the casket gets its own entrance. That pops me. Heidenreich has some of the most awful music that has ever been, because it just says his name over and over. The music behind the word/name is impactful, but the repetitive nature of it is, it's just so perfectly annoying for a bad guy like John Heidenreich. When The Undertaker's music hits, it is a complete 180-degree difference. Just such a perfect presentation for an all-time character. Always such money. This blend of biker/deadman Undertaker was always odd and interesting to me. An undead wizard wearing spandex and MMA gloves. For a second match in a row, the good guy goes at the bad guy to start this. Being a casket match, I sure didn't expect it to start with a headlock and a hip toss, but also, like the prior match, I'd bet money the good guy is leading the bad guy, since in this case, John has way less experience than The Undertaker, like how Edge wasn't very good at being bad in the prior match. This is a very unorthodox match structure. They lock up after the match is already several moves deep. Is John lost? The Undertaker putting on a single leg Boston Crab, and John working his way to the outside. If this was anyone other than a zombie wizard fighting, I wouldn't find the submission so confusing. But on the other hand, both guys fighting on and around the casket before John tosses the Undertaker back in the ring, and then they do a sort of in the corner standing Hell's Gate submission hold, which was nifty. Once they got to the mat, Gene Snitsky interferes to help Heidenreich. They hit a double suplex and start dragging the Undertaker towards the casket. When the referee opens the casket, it is revealed that Kane was hiding, and now he is fighting with his brother of destruction against these two major creeps, John and Gene. Kane fights Snitsky into the crowd, and Undertaker stops John from attempting to get rid of the casket. Heidenreich pulls up the protective mat. He then pushes the casket into the Undertaker. This match is structured so clunky. Undertaker rolls back in the ring, and John puts him in the Cobra Clutch. This thing is so disjointed. Some casket wins are attempted and reversed, and the best spot of the match is the Undertaker hitting his apron leg drop, crushing Heidenreich's head onto the casket. I just wish that that was the finish, because, I don't know, just, like, John hits a deep six, and goes for a pin on The Undertaker. Again, it doesn't feel like Heidenreich was ready for this position. Undertaker hits his soup bones in a big choke slam, then a tombstone pile driver. He rolls John into the casket and closes the lid. It was a passable 2 out of 5 stars match, but John Heidenreich, he had size, but he certainly shouldn't have been in this position. He was not ready, and The Undertaker clearly was carrying him, and it was not an easy trip for the dead man. In the back, Teddy and Eric talk about the Flair and Guerrero number fun. We see Evolution and they're livid. Eddie also took Ric Flair's wallet, even though Latino Heat lies, cheats, and steals. At least he's honest about it. Really enjoy the slow burn turn for Dave Bautista into a good guy. He and Hunter go eye to eye while planning strategy. Christian, Tomko, and John Cena have a fun rap battle in the number tumbler zone. This is peak Oz fan of John Cena era. The Rook Fools t-shirt really gives it away. That and the United States Championship. This is also the time when Christian was becoming painfully aware no matter how good he is, he'd never be good enough for Vince McMahon. It is now time for the SmackDown main event, or at least the SmackDown World Title match, with John Bradshaw Layfield defending against both Kurt Angle, the not yet wrestling machine, but very close, and Big, not the worst shape of his life, but almost there, Show. Angle and Layfield are selling the aftermath of a last man standing match they had a few nights ago on SmackDown. Man, JBL's music and limo entrance really set him apart from the man he used to be. John is a much bigger deal now. I like that he is both smiling, but also you can see he is in pain, limping out to the ring. Referee Brian Hebner is so good at making all of the wrestlers seem bigger than life. Kurt is smart and lets JBL and Big Show beat each other up. Taz says Angle is using one of his 3 eyes, intelligence. Big fan of Kurt, heck, and Taz also, really. Show goes for a pin after his big sit leg drop. This brings Angle back into the ring to prevent the match from ending. John attempts to suplex the Show, but gets a big nope from Paul, who reverses the hold. Mr. White is very dominant early on. When all 3 men are on the outside of the ring, Bradshaw goes headfirst into one of the ring posts, and Big Show moves the steel steps in front of the announce table. JBL and Big Show are now on top of said steps. Big Paul attempts to chokeslam Big John, but it is stopped by Kurt with a low blow to the Big Show. Show then hits the table after Kurt uses the announce table's TV monitor, and Big Show crashes through said table. Kurt and John then pick up where they left off on that last man standing match, back in the ring, and things get very traditional. Both guys go for their comfort zone moves. Kurt with suplexes and Layfield with clotheslines. Both guys do great work reversing each other, and it is cool. Seeing Kurt be such a smart wrestler, visually making sure Big Show is still down before he goes for the cover after an angle slam. Bradshaw reverses that move, and then the Big Show returns, and he is in control once again. That is until Kurt and John hit a high-low on Show, and Kurt hits his angle slam on the big man. Thank you for being here at Mr. Super Oz. This video is going out, and this channel only exists because I, Oz, founded Gamble Comics, which first release was Everlasting Survivors, a 68-page graphic novel called All Day Long. Available now. Follow the link in the description that will take you to gamblecomics.com. While there you can get hats, shirts, posters, much, much more, but most importantly, the story itself. Coming soon from Gamble Comics, BC Brute. At this point, Bradshaw boots out the Olympic hero. Surprisingly, all 3 are on the outside, and Big Show less spears Bradshaw through the barricade and more hurls his body at him, and they both break the crowd barrier. All 3 men are down. This is when Luther Reigns and Mark Jindrak, the new version of Team Angle, get involved, ensuring Paul can't beat Kurt. At the same time, EMTs and JBL's cabinet are checking on him. Orlando Jordan rolls John into the ring, and he hits Kurt with a clothesline from hell. I'm not sure Bradshaw knows where he is, but it was a very good, chaotic 4 out of 5 stars match. These 3 knew their roles much better than Edge did in the opener, and they all have great experience, unlike Heidenreich in the prior match. So much action was packed into this triple threat. We see Batista on his way to get his Rumble entry number, and Carlito wants Dave to sign a petition to get Teddy Long removed as GM. Batista doesn't care about Carlito's paperwork and says that if he doesn't get away, Dave will do with the clipboard what he did with La Resistance flag Monday. This convinces Carlito not to spit his apple like he normally does. Great use of these characters. When Dave arrives in the Tumbler Zone, we hear Teddy getting crap from Eric about all the interference in the SmackDown World title match. So Eric is barring Ric Flair and Dave Batista from ringside for the Raw World title match when Triple H defends against the former Evolution member Randy Orton. Batista smiles at the thought of telling Hunter about what just was talked about, and we are clearly setting up the full-fledged babyface run of Batista very soon, and it's just fun to see it happening in real time, or not our real time, but it's nice to see them planting the seeds at the time. WWE has always been able to make even weak feuds feel strong with the hype package. They can edit together. Big fan of the pre-Voices Randy Orton theme song. Hey, Nothing You Can Say was such good stuff. Also, the not intermittent explosive disorder Randy Orton is just a good kid. Like, I get this smug young brat so much more easily than I ever did I've got head problems. I mean, I could even relate to this cocky version of Randy Orton from 19 to 22. I think I was this dude. Nothing against the cold, calculated RKO out of nowhere Orton, but I found myself being so fond of the young punk, especially up against at this point in 2005, nearly living legend version of Hunter Hearst Helmsley, who had such a tremendous presentation himself. I think it is JBL who would say that if you could build a wrestler from the ground up, it'd be Randy Orton. But I'm not so sure that if you could choose how to make a wrestler look, speak, act, be presented, I'm not sure it wouldn't be Triple H. Hunter really was the prototypical top guy for, years, and him wearing that big gold belt, it just cemented that he was the man in this moment. The match begins at a fast pace with Randy getting a flurry in early before attempting an RKO, but Triple H powders out. The commentators put over how in the last 5 weeks Orton has defeated every member of Evolution, as if it isn't just 3 guys. Randy is so smooth. He should have never enlisted in the Marines. This was what the man was made to do. Triple H reverses another RKO attempt, and this time he just throws Orton out of the ring over the top rope, onto the outside. And Hunter must have seen the prior matches, since he tosses Randy into the steps, much like how Big Show and JBL were fighting around the ring steps and with the ring post. Hunter then does Randy's good guy pose. As Orton tries to get back into the ring, Helmsley lays the boots to the kid and then chokes him. The should-be bad guy is getting all the love, and the good kid is getting the Rocky Maivia treatment from the audience chanting that Orton sucks, we can hear it. It's just not true. Orton is very, very skilled. All they really mean is Randy's getting a push and they don't like it. I forget where this show is happening. Let me check. Save Mart Center in Fresno, California. Yeah, this feels like a California kind of crowd. For sure, the WWE Universe is less cheering for Triple H, and they're more just mad at the young Orton. And I don't know, I've never really gotten this. Young Randy gets his leg worked over, and they're basically just seem to be giving off a low grumble, the crowd, whenever Triple H is in control, and then they get mad when Randy's in control. But it's not like they're for Hunter. It's just basic apathy, not boos. I don't know. The crowd is just driving me nuts in this match. Hunter slaps on a figure 4 leg lock. Randy works his way out and hits his signature neck breaker that I always thought could have made for a great finisher for someone else, obviously, because Randy himself has a great finisher already. Big time fan of Randy and Hunter doing that classic Sting and Flair spot where Flair goes to the top, but Sting, or really anyone, would press slam him before he could get any offense going. With Helmsley down in the ring, Randy goes for his original finisher off the top rope, that crossbody, but no such luck. It being there was no way that was going to be enough to put Hunter away for the pin. After Hunter kicks out, he then hits a running high knee to Orton, and also that doesn't get him the win. I swear, more moves that aren't usually moves that win matches should end matches, like Rolling Thunder for Rob Van Dam or that high knee for Triple H, because it would then make pins more valuable, because a surprise move can win a match. It is at this point I feel like that the crowd has been completely lost. I also believe that the match has kind of gone past its sell-by date. They do a Randy might be concussed spot that is both not cool, and if true, the match really should have ended much earlier. And if not true, shut up about the brain damage stuff, which just makes things super uncomfortable. Hunter crashes into Earl Hebner and he goes to get the sledgehammer, but he doesn't end up using it. And again, if this would have ended, I'm going to say, with that high knee, that would have been very surprising, and I'd have given it a 5 out of 5 stars. But they just had to do more, and sometimes more isn't better, more is just more. Triple H drops the hammer and hits a pedigree. Hebner counts the 3, and it was a fine 3 out of 5 stars match, but it could have been so much better if it was ended maybe 8 minutes sooner. Jerry the King Lawler gives high praise to Triple H for not using his best pal Sledgy, but I just don't get it. The match, like I said, it outlasted its welcome. Backstage shenanigans continue when Kurt Angle steals Nunzio's number one last time with the general manager in the Tumbler Zone. JBL and his cabinet come in to celebrate, and Long informs John he'll be defending the WWE Championship against the man he didn't beat tonight inside of a barbed wire steel cage at No Way Out. Obviously, that man that he didn't pin was the Big Show. Time for the Royal Rumble match. I'm not going to be going over every beat. Just hit the high spots. If it stands out, I'll mention it. Spoiler, not much stood out. Eddie Guerrero drew number 1, which explains why he tried to steal Ric Flair's number. The man who drew number 2 is Chris Benoit. These two closed out WrestleMania 20. No way that happens 2 years in a row, realistically, for either man. Number 3 is one of the worst Tough Enough winners ever, Daniel Puder. I say one of because Silent Rage, to me, will always be the worst winner. The Radicals beat up Danny Boy, then Hardcore Holly enters and joins in on the beating. Neither man lasts long. When the Hurricane enters, I think about just how much WCW talent was around in this era. Helms, Benoit, Guerrero all scream World Championship Wrestling to me. Booker T, Rey Mysterio, Chris Jericho, they all enter, which continue the trend of WCW people coming to mind. Eric Bischoff and Teddy Long both come out, and not to get into the match, but to cheer on the Raw/SmackDown guys that they represent, or that represent them, I guess. But also, both of them are former WCW guys. Edge and Shelton Benjamin are both in and smooth, which is not the case for Luther Reigns. And none of these guys have any ties to WCW outside of one appearance by Edge. They do the Raw vs. SmackDown stare-down spot, and it feels very hollow and pointless until I remember why they had this face-off spot, which was so both sides could ultimately unite against Muhammad Hassan. Lame, but whatever. Scotty 2 Hotty came out at the halfway point, and he gets beat up by Hassan to try and get some heat back. But this match so far has been very uninspired. Charlie Haas, Luther Reigns, Daniel Puder, Scotty 2 Hotty, and even the Hurricane, none could have won. That's not saying I don't like any of those people. I think Helms and Haas especially are very talented, but they were just fodder in the match for getting to the numbers. It very much reminds me of the 90s when we brought in guys from CMLL and all that type of thing, where we're just trying to bolster the numbers to get to 30. Speaking of non-top guys, Simon Dean and Rene Dupree come out, and I get that not everyone is a top guy, but dang, does everybody have to be mid to lower card? Finally, someone believable comes out in the Heartbreak Kid, Shawn Michaels. An angry wrestling machine, Kurt Angle, makes his way out, and things finally start to feel important. Before I can get too excited for the Angles or the Michaels, we then get the worst entrant, Jonathan Coachman. I hate wasted spots in this match. I'm a fan of Mark Jindrak way more than Vince or Hunter ever were, but he and Viscera are also just wasted spots, guys who that they were never going to let get into the main event position. Paul London isn't a bust of a number because I remember that he gets a big spot later on with Gene Snitsky, but number 12, John Cena, a man capable of main eventing WrestleMania. This is Cena with the crowd 100% on his side. After the awesome London and Snitsky clothesline spot, Kane arrives to continue the beatdown that he had given Gene earlier. Dave Bautista enters at 28, just like with John before him. This is a man that feels like he truly is a star on the rise. 29 is Christian and 30 is Ric Flair. All guys who don't water down the concept of winning and getting to the last match at Mania, so that's good. Edge and Christian are both wearing purple. I wonder if that was planned or a mistake. The final four of Ray, Edge, Dave, and John are cool, but obviously this match is most known for Vince McMahon coming out and blowing out both of his quads after they accidentally did a double elimination with Cena and Batista. This should have just been allowed to stand, and then Vince wouldn't have to come out and not be able to stand. Because in the end, John faces JBL and Dave faces Triple H, so it's like, if you just do the double winner thing, and maybe, I think they only did this so they could have the Dave choosing between Raw and SmackDown contracts, drop the SmackDown contract, and powerbomb Triple H to the table. I mean, the match was totally passable, and overall the show was a fine 3 out of 5 stars. It wasn't super bad, it just, I don't know, it just wasn't the most monumental Royal Rumble there has been. Like I said, when the biggest takeaway from the show is Vince McMahon blowing out his quads, you know you got a problem.